Well, I'm Cheryl Hobson. My grandmother, Delia O'Gorman being her maiden name, lost her 4 brothers in the First World War. My great-grandparents, Bridget and John O'Gorman, lived in Wellington, and they had 6 sons and 2 daughters. 5 of the sons went away to World War One, and 4 died. So James was the only one who came back. William was 17 and too young to go to war, but I dare say he would have followed his brothers, had he been old enough. So we knew nothing about this until recent years, and we're now struggling to find information, and it's getting harder and harder.
So it wasn't something that was talked about in the family?
No, the reason being is that John, Delia's son, who's my father, he died suddenly of a heart attack at the age of 38 when I was 8, and we didn't get any history from him. We hardly knew him really, and he probably would have talked about his uncles, but that didn't happen, and this has been the saddest thing really, because we've missed out on all that information.
Yes, to lose 4 out of one family, even though the 5th one did come home, it would have been a huge loss.
It's
to
shocking.
one family. Yes.
My great-grandmother Bridget contacted the government at that time and begged them to send Timothy home, her 4th son, the youngest one, who was away. And they said, "Thank you for your contribution, Mrs. O'Gorman, but do you not think he would like to be there till the end?" And she said, "Well, he may not be there at the end," and that was the case. The following week he was killed, and so she didn't get Timothy back either.
Oh.
She worked so hard to get him back. They did promise they would send him home on permanent leave, but he was killed before that happened.
Did so what years were they killed? Was it all at once? Or
Pretty much. I have the dates written here. I suppose we could refer to them, couldn't we? Because it's John. 2 of them died in Belgium. They have no known graves. They're on the memorial at Tyncott Memorial in Belgium. John died on the 12th of October 1917. Thomas died 4th of October 1917.
Oh yes, that's Ypres and
Yes, that's right.
Passchendaele and that sort of, yes.
That was right. And Cornelius, he died 28th of August the next year, 1918. They were all in their 20s. And Timothy died the 23rd of October 1918, aged 24.
So what effect do you think that had on the family as the years went by?
Well, I don't know them personally. They did get on with life. They were very busy, hard-working people. But I suppose like any other families who have even just lost 1 or 2, you just really never get over it.
No.
But I wish I could tell you more about what happened afterwards.
But you did say something about the names being carried on in the
Yes, when my grandmother had her children, she had 4 sons, and she named my father, was the first child to be born. He was named after John, and then she had a Thomas, and her daughter Constance was named after Cornelius. But that's as far as it went. There were 3 she named after her brothers. She went on to have a son called Brian, so she sort of changed tack a little.
Yes. They were an Irish family of Irish origins?
They were. I think they originally went to Australia before coming over to New Zealand, and they're buried in Wellington, my great-grandparents, in the Karori Cemetery. I have a note of what the boys worked at. Two of the boys worked on a farm on the Wairarapa and left from Tanui, where the first Anzac, it's said they feel that the first Anzac service was held at Tanui, above Wellington, and one of the boys' names is on the memorial there. I don't know why the other ones are not there.
Yes, war memorials can be a bit
Inaccurate.
Inaccurate sometimes, yes. So you said something else about the graves.
Well, the state of disrepair of my great-grandparents, I've only been looking things up in the last year to 18 months, and I found an image online of their grave, and that shocked me because it's in a state of disrepair, and I'd like to see that fixed up before I pop off, so to speak.
So it's all a matter of family tradition and history and
Yes, we feel
keeping the memories.
very connected. My sister's daughter Marie Arnold has done a big study on this. These four boys, it's her obsession really, and she has a lot of information, and it's ongoing. See, another thing is with my great-grandmother Bridget, her sister Mary Ryan from Dunedin. She had a big family of boys too, and two of them were also killed in the First World War. And that side of the family, she lost 12 boys. You see, yeah, I haven't got enough in my mind at the moment because it's all fresh that we're digging up.
Yes.
But Mary Ryan did lose sons as well, so there was a lot of grief.
Yeah,
So,
a lot. You have some photographs with you, Cheryl.
Well,
Can you hold them up to the camera and just so that we
this
can see?
beautiful lady here is Auntie Betty. That's one of the sisters of the boys who died, and the lady in the middle is Delia O'Gorman. She's another sister. She's actually standing there with my maternal grandmother, so I have my paternal grandmother as well as maternal. So I think there was a lot of family support in those days. And that's my grandmother Delia. In Dunedin they used to photograph you when you walked up the street. Their brothers, we know what height they were. Of course you get all the war records of their height, the colour of their eyes, hair and skin and etc. And we try to imagine what they look like, but we can't find any photos of them at all. But that's another one of my grandmother with two of her boys, tall, long-legged fellas. One of them's not they're actually my father's younger brothers.
Yes, sometimes you can assume what they might
We
have
try
looked
to imagine
like.
what
Yes.
they were like. They were lean and light, as most people were in those days, I suppose, and fit. A couple of them were electricians, and we're finding out. We're getting to know them. But,
Yes. What about Thomas Harris? You talked
oh, my
about
maternal
him.
grandfather. Oh, right. Well, he was big into boxing, and he used to train boxers at the Otago University and Waitaki Boys High School, and Jack Lovelock, the famous Jack Lovelock from the 1936 Olympic Games, he trained him to box as well at Otago University. But he went away to war. He fought in the Suez, and he was in Egypt, and the men, it wasn't all fighting. They had some downtime and they'd be boxing, and he trained them and they did very well. So I haven't written that story, I haven't put all that information together yet, but I have photos of him as well. There's a photo of him going off on one of the warships. He's the one down there in the corner, but that's, I thought, quite profound, the way the men were all bunched up there in a ship getting off to war. And that's Thomas. And as he was when he was fighting as Tommy Gale, he had a professional name, he was a professional fighter. But he had an easy war, I'm told.
Yes, if there was such a thing as an
yes,
easy war.
he was in
yes.
the right place at the right time, whereas these boys weren't. So,
Yes, we have found from talking to other people there's a lot of luck involved, just depending on how that bullet goes and whether it goes past you or...
Yes, never got to talk to him about his war life at all. But, of course, my mother was just a baby when he left, and when he came home, he put his hat on the bed, and they had made for her a little war uniform, a little hat and a khaki coat, as they did in those days. And she ran into her mother and said, "That man's got his hat on our bed," because she used to sleep with her mother while he was away at war.
Oh my goodness.
And then, of course, then they had another little daughter, so they had the two little girls. But it made a big gap in the families, you know. It's a 5-year gap between the two girls because of the war. There's things like that came out of it. But I remember him having a box of old bits and pieces out in the shed. We were never allowed to go near it, but sometimes it was opened, and he had 2 Turks hats in there, things like that, and boxing gloves and old war memorabilia. Of course, it's all been thrown out. If only we knew, you know, to keep it all. There would have been so much information in there.
Well, thank you very much, Cheryl. Is there anything else you want to say?
Well, there would be a lot. I have brought information that I'll leave with you today, so that it's recorded somewhere for time. But
thank you very much. Well, it's been a pleasure listening to you. Thank you very much.
That's all right.
Okay.